The NCAA is finally allowing college athletes to get paid. This is for sure going to be one of those rules in life that we look back on and shake our heads as to why it was a rule in the first place. The era of college athletes not getting paid will age worse than all the kids who were eating Tide Pods like they were laced with milk chocolate. Really think about how stupid this rule was that existed for so long. NCAA athletes couldn't make money for themselves because an overbearing entity thought they knew what was best for the athletes. This is the NCAA speaking. You're an amateur student athlete and we know what's best for you. If you get paid to sign an autograph, you're going to be a damaged adult. If you even think about getting paid for promoting an athletic brand that you already wear, then you will be put in timeout. And heaven forbid you even think about creating a YouTube channel detailing your life as a student athlete, we would shut your channel down faster than you could say monetization. The NCAA has always been that weird, controlling, and overbearing boyfriend that tries to make every decision for his girlfriend, and even worse is when the NCAA then claims to know what's best for the kids. Here's how insane the NCAA has been with players not being able to make money off their name and image. Imagine you had a typical 9-to-5 job for a nice-sized corporation. On the weekends, you wanted to create a t-shirt with a cool logo on it and sell it to some of the people who follow you on Instagram. Harmless activity, right? Now imagine your company finding out and firing you, not because of the t-shirt design or anything, but simply because you were trying to make money. That's been the NCAA for the entirety of its operation. Surely there's some reason for the NCAA not allowing players to sign autographs or get paid to endorse local restaurants, right? Wrong. That would be against amateurism, a term I'm fairly confident they created. Instead of trying to teach our college athletes how to be professional, let's make sure to label them as amateurs whenever and wherever we can. What's bizarre about the NCAA environment is everything is self-imposed for the benefit of no one. If there was a case study 20 years ago showing that college athletes resorted to violent illegal activities after getting paid, then we could see in the data that maybe it is best that they don't get paid. But there's nothing. Athletes were already getting paid and the college athletics landscape has done nothing but grow and improve with every passing year. Just a little secret between me and you, I've heard college athletes were getting paid before this last weekend. I don't have any specific data to point to, but you just gotta trust me on this one. I personally think college athletes now are pretty mature given how much of the spotlight they're under all the time. Football players in years past could go do keg stands at fraternity parties without anyone bothering them. Now they end up on Instagram and get labeled as a party animal. Or they sign their name on a collectible item and get suspended for the first half of a game. You can sign your name on your apartment lease, but if you sign it on a helmet, you are a naughty rule breaker and you don't earn the right to play.
This guy comes up behind me, he's like, yo, how would you want to make $3,000? I'll turn around like, yeah, bro, I got like $65 in my bank account. I'm waiting on that, beginning of the month, January stipend check. So I take this guy's number down. We're doing it all sneaky. We don't want to get caught. We're trying to learn from everybody else that's got caught.
Johnny Manziel has to be wondering what if at this point, right? Poor guy could have legit made $1 million in college if the floodgates of getting paid opened up for him while he was at the little brother school in College Station, like they are for athletes now.
You know, may or may not have gone back to this guy's condo and signed probably 10,000 pieces.
He got it out of
here. He gave me $3,000.
Because he had to go under the table to make a little cash, Johnny was willing to sign allegedly thousands of memorabilia for $3,000. Just a quick search on eBay today shows hundreds of collector items selling for $50 all the way up to $500. This is years after the Johnny football mania is over. Imagine what those would have sold for right after he won the Heisman. Are you ready for some irony? Johnny could have made significantly more money had he known the real value of his autograph on an open market, and more importantly, if what he was doing was legal. Who was actually damaged in this situation? Not physically damaged, obviously, but in this context, financially damaged. It was Johnny.
I'm signing these autographs, and this other guy who's like bringing the pictures over. He's like, yo, you're getting ripped off. Here's this guy's number. Hit him up. He'll give you $30,000. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm going to make 3 and then 30. So this guy pretty much is like, all right, go to this room at the Fontainebleau. All the stuff will be in there laid out, and when you're done, just send me a picture of all of it. I'll give you the code of the safe. The money will be in there.
The NCAA always tries to protect the student athletes, whatever that means. Manziel could have made so much money if he was signing for $5 an autograph. So the NCAA tries to protect athletes by not getting them into situations where they might just make a little money. And yet the athletes are the ones getting taken advantage of at both sides of the argument. Let's take his word that he signed 10,000 collector items. If he was earning $5 each, then he'd walk with $50,000. That's a more reasonable payday. But his signing party would have been even more profitable if he partnered with the investor to split profits 50-50. This goes for current athletes too. If the open market wants to buy footballs and jerseys with your signature on it, you should be allowed to sign away. Here's a signed Manziel helmet for $205. I can't imagine the helmet costs more than $100 if purchased in bulk. Split profits 50-50, and Manziel is signing for $40 to $50 per item instead of $5, or in the scenario he mentioned, 33 cents. We know that previous athletes could have been making so much more money if this rule was implemented earlier, so why wasn't it? The NCAA was formally established in 1906 to reform the rules and regulations of college sports. Back in those days, being a professional wasn't even an option for college athletes to aspire to become. And there weren't brand deals that you could post on your social media. They would have probably been promoting cigarettes and enlisting to go to war back then. This brings up the interesting power dynamic that the NCAA has always had in its disposal. They continued running the same operation that was being run for 50 plus years, even though the overarching concept of student athlete and intercollegiate athletics has changed so much. The times have changed, but the rules haven't. Why haven't they? Well, who's controlling the NCAA? I don't know. Do you? In 2019, California showed us a glimpse of what happens when you kick the bully in the nuts, take his lunch, and expose his Friday night browsing history. On September 30th, the California Senate enacted Senate Bill 206, which would effectively end amateurism for NCAA athletes and therefore is a game changer for the NCAA, which currently prohibits college athletes from receiving compensation. The California law does not require colleges to pay athletes a wage, but it allows athletes to procure business and sponsorship deals. Gavin Newsom, the often criticized governor of California, made a push to help athletes finally get paid. And guess what the NCAA responded with? What is a terrible letter that indicates a lack of desire to relinquish power for $500, Alex? California Senate Bill 206 would upend that balance. If the bill becomes law and California's 58 NCAA schools are compelled to allow an unrestricted name, image, and likeness scheme, it would erase the critical distinction between college and professional athletics, and because it gives those schools an unfair recruiting advantage, would result in them eventually being unable to compete in NCAA competitions. This is the exact response someone would send if they feel like they're losing control over someone. No, it's just not good for these athletes to maybe make some money, because then we'd need to call them professionals, and the labels are really important. They have to stay amateurs, not because it makes sense, but because we need to enforce the rules that have been around since 1906. It's an unfair advantage to the California schools if they allow the kids to get paid. It's just so not fair to finally let them make some money to feed themselves. We must keep them under our control, or else we risk them losing their amateur innocence. Let's be real, when has life been fair? The bigger, stronger, faster, more talented athletes are going to get paid significantly more than the others. The larger, better funded Power 5 schools located in major cities are going to have recruiting advantages over those who are not. Get over it, NCAA. That's how life is. It's better these kids get acquainted with fair market economics in college anyway. The NCAA continues to focus on the best interests of all student athletes nationwide. Real quick, this has always been a really weird statement to me. The NCAA has never focused on the best interests of the student athletes. While the NCAA does an amazing job at providing a wonderful college athletics landscape, they have never cared about the best interest of the athletes. The athletes simply getting paid for using their name or likeness should have been acceptable 50 years ago. The NCAA basically threatened to make all of the California schools who participate in the NCAA ineligible for competition. What happened next? Despite the NCAA's threats, more than a dozen states followed California's lead and passed their own similar legislation allowing college athletes to make money from their name, image, and likeness, which ratcheted up pressure on the NCAA to make changes to its policy. This reminds me of when marijuana was legalized in Colorado in 2012, and then a bunch of states followed right after. You mean that our society doesn't crumble when people smoke weed, and the state can generate hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes to fund education initiatives? Wow, this is a genius idea. Why didn't we think of it sooner? Faced with multiple states passing legislation to allow for athletes to be compensated through business and sponsorship deals in the recent SCOTUS decision, the NCAA has now formally reversed course on its opposition. In June, the Supreme Court ruled in a 9-0 decision that NCAA restrictions on education-related benefits for college athletes violated antitrust laws. I love how everyone was finally piling on the NCAA and forced them to change their antiquated rules. I bet you that the NCAA changed their tune and said that today is a good day for the athletes. Let's see what Emmert responded with. This is an important day for college athletes since they are all now able to take advantage of name, image, and likeness opportunities. Emmert continued, with the variety of state laws adopted across the country, we will continue to work with Congress to develop a solution that will provide clarity on a national level. Now it's an important day, even though every day for the past 20 or more years could have been important days. If you ever wondered about the ridiculousness of bureaucracy in America, look no further than a case like this. Here's how you solve problems like the athletes getting paid for their image in about 3 hours. You stick everyone in a room, you provide just enough water and snacks for the participants to survive, and you don't allow anyone to leave the room until a decision is made. You could have done this 10 years ago and came to a decision in about 30 minutes. This is such an important day, as if Emmert and the NCAA were fighting against an evil entity. They were the entity preventing the important day from happening. Such an important day that we finally came to our senses and allowed athletes to get paid for their image and name. What are athletes now allowed to do? The new rules open the door for college athletes to sign with agents or other legal representatives to assist in obtaining endorsement or licensing deals, as well as allow them to create their own businesses or participate in advertising campaigns, among a host of other potential business ventures that are now approved by the NCAA. Magically, the minute athletes were able to get paid, many college athletes signed endorsement deals with brands. Spencer Rattler, quarterback of the often disappointing Oklahoma Sooners, signed with Raising Cane's what seemed like 1 minute after he was able to, and he started a website using his brand for merchandise and apparel.
It's a new day for NCAA athletes, one that Jordan Bohannon has been waiting for.
When I first started advocating for all these college athletes across the country, I never would imagine I'd be able to, pursue and profit and monetize off my own name. And I did it just for those athletes to have those opportunities.
But Bohannon gets a cut too and starts his NIL profiting with a bang.
What better way for me to come out to a fireworks shop right before 4th of July and, bring some business in for them. And
here's a tweet from Omar Solomon with the University of Miami star quarterback D'Eriq King, notifying the Twitter world that they have struck an endorsement deal for college hunks hauling junk in Miami. Another tweet indicates that D'Eriq will be paid $20,000 for the endorsement. D'Eriq's teammate Bubba Bolden signed with college hunks as well, and based on the check within the image, he will be paid $10,000 for his endorsement. I think there's ultimately going to be 4 outcomes for this new era of college athletes getting paid for their name, image, or likeness. Number 1 outcome is national brand deals. We've seen this with Spencer Rattler earlier in this video, as Raising Cane's is a national brand. The Cavender twins are basketball players at Fresno State University and have signed endorsement deals with Boost Mobile and 6 Star Nutrition. The most popular athletes on social media are going to have a plethora of opportunities in front of them now. Athletes who are playing for programs who experience multiple national television games throughout the season and are frontrunners to win national awards are also going to have a lot of sponsorship opportunities. Here's a post I've seen passed around on Instagram featuring Reggie Bush. Estimates suggest Reggie Bush would make between $4 million and $6 million annually with the new NIL rules, and the post reminds us that his Heisman Trophy was taken away because he received some benefits from an agent, while USC made millions off of his talents. Whether that number is accurate or not is up for debate, but there's no doubt that top-tier athletes at large schools in large markets who play multiple games on national television will receive a lot of money. Number 2 outcome will be local brand deals. D'Eriq King's multiple deals with local Miami businesses is a good example. I can see even smaller school players getting deals to help endorse local businesses. Something simple could be the starting running back hosting Q&A sessions at a local restaurant twice a month. Brothers Trey and Bryce McGowens, who play basketball for the University of Nebraska, launched a podcast, Off Court, which is sponsored by a tavern and bar in Lincoln, Nebraska. Number 3 outcome will be athletes promoting their own brands. Lexi Sun, an All-American volleyball player at the University of Nebraska, announced her own apparel line on Thursday in an Instagram post. The Sunny Crew sweatshirt is the first piece on display of the Lexi Sun REN Athletics line. This will likely happen only with athletes with a large social media presence, but it does open the door for a lot of athletes becoming entrepreneurs earlier in their career. Number 4 outcome is athletes won't earn anything. Realistically, this is going to be a majority of athletes. Brands aren't going to sponsor everyone, as there's only so many advertising and marketing dollars to be spent. The next couple of years will be good testing grounds for brands to determine the ROI on ad spend when using local athletes to promote their products. I'm looking forward to seeing some awesome brand integrations with local collegiate athletes that are certainly going to be circulating on Reddit within the next year or two. Local businesses in rural towns are going to have some really creative ways to market their product with athletes, and I can't wait to see what they come up with. Final thought, I think it would be fascinating to see an All-American level athlete create an NFT for their memorabilia and limit the quantity of their signature. I'm thinking something like releasing only 1 signed helmet per month, or one signed jersey per week. The lack of supply would create pretty high demand, especially if the player is playing on national TV and a nominee for year-end awards. To conclude, good job NCAA, you finally allowed athletes to make a little money. In 20 years, we'll look back on the concept of the NCAA withholding athletes from getting paid as one of the most insane and stupid self-imposed rules we'll ever see. Thanks for watching.